before we go any further, let me say this clearly. If you care about growing food, healthy soil, and gardens that last more than a season, you're in the right place. Subscribe to Evergreen Garden, leave a comment with what you're growing right now, and share this with another gardener who's tired of shortcuts and half-truths. Sustainable gardening is one of the most misunderstood ideas in modern gardening, and today we're fixing that by getting straight into the real, practical meaning of it. Most people think sustainable gardening means avoiding chemicals, buying organic products, or installing a few solar lights and calling it a day. That surface-level thinking is exactly why so many eco-friendly gardens still struggle with weak plants, exhausted soil, pests that never seem to go away, and rising costs every single season. Real sustainability has nothing to do with trends and everything to do with systems that support themselves over time. Sustainable gardening means creating a garden that feeds itself more every year, instead of draining your energy, your wallet, and your soil. It means your garden improves with age rather than collapsing the moment you skip a week of maintenance. If your garden can't survive without constant inputs, constant buying, and constant fixing, it isn't sustainable, no matter how natural it looks on social media. Sustainable gardening begins and ends with soil that gets better every season. The foundation of sustainability is soil health, not plant choice, not fertilizers, and not aesthetics. Healthy soil is living soil, and living soil behaves very differently from dead dirt. When soil is alive, it holds water longer, releases nutrients slowly, resists disease, and supports roots naturally. When soil is dead, plants depend entirely on what you add from outside, and that dependency is the opposite of sustainability. A sustainable garden soil system is built on organic matter cycling. For every square meter of garden bed, the long-term goal should be maintaining at least 5% organic matter in the top 20 centimeters of soil. Practically, that means adding roughly 5 to 8 centimeters of compost once or twice a year, depending on your climate and soil type. In sandy soils, you may need closer to 8 centimeters annually. In heavier soils, 5 centimeters is often enough. Instead of digging compost in deeply every season, sustainable gardeners focus on surface feeding. Compost, leaf mold, aged manure, and chopped plant residues are placed on top and allowed to break down naturally. This protects soil structure, feeds microbes, and mimics how forests have maintained fertility for thousands of years without human intervention. Sustainable gardening rejects the idea of constant replacement and embraces regeneration. One of the biggest mistakes gardeners make is, treating plants as disposable. Sustainable gardening looks at plant life as part of a long-term system rather than just a seasonal decoration. This means favoring perennials where possible, allowing self-seeding plants to establish, and selecting varieties that adapt well to your specific climate rather than, forcing exotic plants to survive. For example, instead of replanting basil every season, allowing 1 or 2 plants to flower and drop seed creates a self-renewing cycle. The same applies to crops like amaranth, coriander, lettuce, and many local greens. When even 30% of your garden reliably reseeds itself, you reduce seed costs, labor, and transplant stress while increasing resilience. Regeneration also means allowing plants to feed the soil after harvest. Leaving roots in the ground rather than pulling them out helps maintain soil channels, microbial life, and moisture retention. Cutting plants at soil level and using the tops as mulch turns waste into fertility and really closes the loop inside your garden. Water management really defines whether a garden is truly sustainable or not. A garden that depends on daily watering is, fragile by design. Sustainable gardening focuses on water efficiency first, not irrigation systems. Healthy soil that's rich in organic matter can actually hold up to 20 times its weight in water. This alone can cut watering needs by half or even more. Mulching is honestly non-negotiable in a sustainable system. A layer of organic mulch, say 5 to 10 centimeters thick, reduces evaporation, moderates soil temperature, and feeds soil life as it breaks down. In hot climates, 10 centimeters is ideal. In cooler climates, 5 to 7 centimeters is often sufficient. Watering deeply and less frequently, really trains roots to grow downward rather than just staying shallow. Instead of watering lightly every day, applying something like 20 to 30 liters per square meter once or twice a week encourages stronger plants and honestly reduces overall water use. Sustainable gardens don't chase moisture at the surface. They build systems that store it underground. Sustainable gardening doesn't mean avoiding inputs altogether, but rather it's about reducing dependency on them. There's a myth floating around that sustainable gardeners never add anything to their gardens. But you see, the truth is that sustainable gardening is about smarter inputs, not zero inputs. Compost, mineral amendments, and organic fertilizers all have a place, as long as they're used strategically. A simple example is balancing nitrogen-heavy materials with carbon-rich ones. You see, kitchen scraps alone create imbalance. Mixing them with dry leaves, straw, or shredded cardboard at roughly a 2-to-1 carbon-to-nitrogen ratio prevents odor, speeds decomposition, and produces stable compost. That compost then replaces synthetic fertilizers, closing the nutrient loop. Sustainability means you know why you're adding something, what it does, and how it fits into the larger system. Random feeding without understanding soil needs creates dependency, not resilience. Pest and disease control in sustainable gardening focuses on balance, not elimination. A garden without insects is really a failing garden. Sustainable gardening understands that pests are actually signals, not enemies. Weak plants, they tend to attract pests. But on the other hand, healthy plants can tolerate a bit of damage without just collapsing. Building biodiversity is honestly the most effective long-term pest control strategy. Interplanting crops, keeping flowering plants around all year and allowing beneficial insects to settle in, these steps create natural regulation. For example, planting one flowering plant for every 3 food crops can dramatically increase predator insect populations. When intervention is necessary, sustainable gardeners, choose targeted, low-impact solutions. Neem, soap sprays, and manual removal are tools, not crutches. The goal is always to correct the underlying imbalance rather than wage endless war. Sustainable gardening is measured in years, not harvest. The clearest sign that a garden is truly sustainable is that, it becomes easier over time. Weeds decrease as soil improves, watering needs drop, pest pressure stabilizes, and, yields become more reliable even in difficult seasons. If your garden demands more effort every year, something is wrong. Sustainability is not about perfection, it's about direction. Each season should move your garden closer to independence rather than deeper into dependency. This is the core truth most people get wrong. Sustainable gardening is not an identity or a label. It is a long-term practice of building systems that work with nature instead of against it. If this guide helped clarify what sustainable gardening really means, subscribe to Evergreen Garden for serious, practical gardening knowledge that actually works. Share this with another gardener who's ready to move beyond surface-level advice. And, leave a comment telling me one change you'll make this season toward a truly sustainable garden.